And so, for the second part of our video on Living History Ireland, we'd like to let you have a closer look at some of the characters and the skills they bring to the group.
Hi, we are the Sons of Ivar Living History Society and Ulfhednir Viking Herd Ireland. We are 10th century reenactors, focusing mainly on Eastern style full contact fighting.
The Vikings are very well skilled with their weaponry, and I for one wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of one of them.
Yes. Good one.
This slow motion shot shows why. So, as we leave the Vikings to do battle, here's George Logan with the story of the Red Hand of Ulster.
This is where one of the stories of the Red Hand of Ulster come from, as they had a good raid. They were overladen, so they decided they would leave some of their men back to take all the cargo home to their homeland before the storms come in the winter. So they decided that they would leave sort of 20-30 men behind, and they would be safe enough to sail home with their big cargo. So with that to do, the son of the clan chief Niall, he wanted to command the so-called troops that were left behind, the Vikings that were left behind. And the father wasn't just so sure that he had the experience or the courage to be fit to handle this in his absence. So he didn't want to fall out with his son, and he pondered, and the Vikings being the Vikings that they are, he came up with what he thought was a clever idea, and he said, you can jump off the ship here now, and the first one to reach the shore, touch the shore with their hand will be the one who will command in my absence to my return. So the son agreed to this, and he put his strongest man that he really wanted to do the job, supposedly, and as they took off and swimming towards the shore, the son seen that the father's picked man was going to win the day. So as he was fit to put his feet on the shore, he stood up and cut his right hand off and threw it on the shore, so as it was his hand that touched the shore first, and therefore the legacy of the Red Hand of Ulster was supposedly born.
Back in the Viking village, however, life moves at a more gentle pace, and I took 5 minutes to get to know the artist on site.
Hi, I'm Skye Bompess. I'm an artist. I'm based in Belfast at the moment, but I love getting out into the fields and coming and doing art out in the open. Yeah, my main forte would be drawing people. Love drawing nudes as well. Love drawing people who are dressed up in these beautiful outfits, like such dresses like this. Coming out here for me, it takes me back in time, and it's just such an honour to be able to capture people.
There was even traditional woodworking on show.
Hello, so I'm Richard Stewart from Hoddenmere's Woodcraft, and it comes from the Old Norse of Hoddenmere's Hulk, where the Tree of Life was supposed to be. What I do is I demonstrate wood turning and other wood crafts from the Viking era into the early medieval. So as you can see, it goes from wood turning to the likes of the draw horse, and then various other bits and pieces of tools. Range of things I make: I do goblets, I do bowls, I do historically accurate items such as tablet weaving looms, all that sort of thing. Always available for commission.
And then I had a closer look at weaving and beehive making.
I weave krises and belts, both tablet weaving, which are more intricate. But I didn't bring my tablet weaving loom with me, which is a card technique. It's pretty difficult. And that actually creates belts very, very strong. You can't rip them unless you cut them or set them on fire. That's when you destroy them. And the pattern on the front and the back varies because of the rotation of the cards. If you do normal kris weaving like this one, you end up with a belt that's the same on the front and the back. And you do that with a head on. This is kind of like I've done earlier. Or it's not finished yet either. I can either tie that to my waist and then weave with it like somewhere else, in which case it's called backstrap weaving. And that gets you a pattern that's the same on the front and the back. But you can also do them on what's known as a box loom. This is a box loom. And these are used more even in Middle Eastern countries, they still use those as well. This is called a heddle. Heddle is an old word for gate, literally like we're in a farmyard here, so you can actually have that. And it literally is whether you go up or down, you change the threads that are on the bottom or on the top. This too gets very, very strong belts. You get very strong belts with that.
Hi, and what we're doing here is the old-fashioned way of keeping bees in hives, the bee skips. But it's a fairly basic design, and it was used in many forms, as you can see here, for mats, for baskets, for holding wares. If you had fruits, vegetables and things like that, you could store it inside here, lid to go on it. That would keep away all the pests and all the vermin and the wild fowl and stuff. It was initially used for beekeeping, and what they would use then, like the precursor to the modern day hives, what they would have is in here. There's one similar to it beside you there as well.
Oh, the small one, yeah there.
And
that's a mini one.
In principle, it's like this. So what you would have, it's interwoven grass with straw, hay. In this case, it's a ryegrass, and they would use as a lapping cane to tie it all together. They would have used bramble, where they would have split it down the centre, taken the pith and the thorns and stuff, left it to dry. But then, of course, you had to re-wet it then before you would use it again, because otherwise it would just snap. You have to wet it again to make it flexible.
Oh dear.
So I have one here steeping away at the moment. So that's just so that it keeps it more pliable then, and it doesn't snap when you're bending. It's just an interwoven, so you're adding the straw as you go along, and you're just interweaving into the one before, a bit like with knitting and the crochet type and the nail binding that Nancy is doing there. And then I set the horn on top of it here, because it keeps it all in a unified size. And then as I'm going along, all I'm doing then is I'm picking up the next couple of bits of straw and then slot it in here and slide this along, and as it's going then, and then you're just twisting and bending. I'll show you very briefly. What you do is you raise the one from the row in front of it, just to make a bit of a gap then, and you get the lapping cane and you hook it in underneath it. Right. Make it a bit bigger. And as you see then, it follows through like that, and underneath we just pull it on up. We go back, give it a little bit of a tug, bit of a twist, and then that's it. And you just continue all the way around and around and around, like you see here. Carries on around.
That's a pot holder.
And that's actually for putting hot plant pots, whatever on that. Then we can go on then, make it as intricate or as simple as you want. And then, as I say, with the likes of the bee skep, what it would have been is you could make them as large as you want, but you didn't want to make them too big, because you had to be able to lift them. And if these are full of bees and honey and honeycomb, they could weigh anywhere about 40 or 50 kilos on a full size one, and that'd take 2 men to lift it.
Jumping forward in time, I found myself in World War II. I was surrounded by American and German troops, as well as having an impressive display set up in the German bunker. Here's Jamie McAdoo to fill us in more.
Hello, I'm Jamie McAdoo with Living History Ireland, and today I'm representing 2nd Lieutenant Harry Miller from Tyrone Battalion, Cookstown Detachment. With the Ulster Home Guard in Living History Ireland, we aim to inform the public what the Ulster Home Guard was, what they did. They were formed in 1940, preparing for a possible invasion from the Germans, and they were disbanded in 1944. So they had a slightly short lifespan, but their main role was to, as I say, protect the country against possible invasion, to man anti-aircraft posts, to observe for any enemy activity or any saboteurs around local areas, and to protect military installations.
All in all, I really can't say enough good things about Living History Ireland. Their level of dedication, the level of authenticity, and the amount of patience and time they took to explain their crafts to me was second to none. If you're planning on checking them out at the Game Fair at Change Castle, you really won't be disappointed, and I highly recommend them to anyone. We hope to see you there.